Hey guys, maybe gals. I want to show you something on this motor. It's a 340 I'm doing. I put this together 2 nights ago. It's a rush job. You know, there's no port and no gasket match. It's just 30 over. Put a torque cam in it, which was 268 comp cams extreme energy on 110 lobe. The pistons are flat top, 4 valve relief. Compression should be around 9.5, 10-to-1 at best. But anyway, what I wanted to show you, I see a lot of comments on YouTube about people starting motors. I've had them comment on me, my videos. For all you Xbox motherfuckers that don't have a clue what you're talking about, the worst thing you can do is start a fresh motor and let it idle. And another thing that's the worst thing you can do is not have it start instantly. There's a lot of people throwing comments out there about pulling the coil wire off or whatnot and cranking the fucking motor over with the starter to build oil pressure. That is the worst fucking thing you can do, because that pump's driven off a cam which turns half the speed as your crank. You can't crank it fast enough to build oil pressure. If you want to build oil pressure, pre-lube your motor, buy the fucking thing you spin with a drill. But if it's lubricated good when you assemble it and you put it right in and fire it up instantly, you won't have nothing to worry about. But anyway, this cam was lubed up with the comp cam's lube. And as you can see, there's hardly any on it. Now, anyone that knows anything about motors, it's very important that when this fucking thing starts, the RPMs come up to fucking 2 grand, 2,500 instantly, and it stays there for like 20 minutes. And every now and then whack the throttle to vary your fucking speed. Now what that does is when your pistons and your rods are in there going up and down, your big end is swinging. It's making circles inside your motor. And that's what lubricates a camshaft. Remember the side clearance on the rods? Well, that's what it's doing. As the oil's coming out between your rods, and as they're spinning, it's throwing oil up in the bottom of your cylinder walls and on your camshaft, and that's how it's getting lubed. As you can see, the mopar is pretty cool. It's opened up, you know, you got big windows in here, so a lot of it will actually splash in from up here, where a Chevy won't, because there's just a bunch of little holes. But it's very important not to just suck and sit and crank your motor. When you put your distributor in, don't put it in at 0. Don't line your marks up at 0. Put your dampener in, you know, put it in around 10 to 12 degrees advanced, anywhere from 8 to 12. Probably no more than 12, but definitely no less than 8. When you get your motor here, that's when you want to drop your distributor in and line everything up. Because if you, I don't know if you ever watch videos, you'll see someone cranking the fucking motor to start it, and they'll backfire. They'll get out and turn the distributor a little bit to advance it, and do it some more and keep doing that. Because that's because they're putting it in at 0. They're lining the timing marks up and dropping the distributor in, and it's not firing. Then they got to turn it, you know, they got to advance it, advance it, advance it, and eventually when it's advanced around 12 degrees, it will fucking start and idle. So to save yourself fucking bearing wear and cam wear, roll your motor up so it's 0, back it up to fucking 12, put the distributor in, put your wires on, and fill the carburetor up with gas. You can fill it through the vent hole, or you can pour some into it, start it, and don't give it any gas, just let it fucking suck up. You know, do that a couple times till it's going to run on its own, then wind the auto screw in and break your cam in. If it was a roller camshaft, you don't have to worry about doing your 20-minute break-in for your cam. You can start it up and go. But when I get to the stroker motor, I'll walk you through that whole fucking process. Okay, long story short on this motor, the 340 I was doing for somebody, it swapped ownership, so now I'm no longer doing it for that somebody, I'm doing it for some other somebody. This is just nothing special. It's a little bit of compression, small cam. It's a fucking 340, so you got a cam on to make torque. But it's to this point, and the new owner, the guy that bought the motor, wants aluminum heads put on it. So he bought aluminum heads. Now, for the average fucking schmuck who don't know nothing, you fucking YouTube mechanics, people that know a little bit, but don't know all the ins and outs and the fucking pros and cons of generic parts versus, you know, name brand parts. Long story short, Edelbrock used to be a good product. Not so much anymore. You're buying a name now. It's like buying a fucking $2 Hanes t-shirt with a Nike emblem on it. It's just a fucking plain old t-shirt. You're just spending the fucking $15 for the name. I gotta pull these heads apart. I gotta check every fucking thing about them. And for all you people that think you can just buy these parts and put them on your motor, yeah, for the most part, you might not have a problem just bolting these on out of the box. But you never know. There's a lot that can be wrong. It has to be checked. And that's up to the person that's building that motor. The difference being the builder and an assembler. An assembler is just buying parts and assembling the motor. A builder will actually sit down with each fucking part and make sure it's correct. The sad thing is there's a lot of assemblers out there. I have just checked the fucking spring pressure, the installed height, combustion chamber volume, everything. And with the mopar heads, or any head that doesn't have adjustable valve train, the height here to here is very important. The last set of Edelbrocks I did, I could never get the correct valve chain geometry on it because the pedestals are too high and it was pushing the rocker out here. There's nothing I can do about it other than machine these down. If the owner doesn't want to do that, nothing I can do about it because I'm not going to pay for it. What they should have done when they made these heads was make the pedestals probably, I don't know, 100 thousandths shorter than what they made them, because if it's too short and the tip is riding out on your intake side of your valve, that's saying it needs to come up, or you need, you know, like a Chevy motor, you need a longer push rod. You can always add shims and bring it up and work that pattern out where you want it, but if they're too tall and it's out here, it's hard to bring it back in without taking these to the machine shop and spending a lot of money to have these cut down. So, another thing that's important, because of it, is the valve height. On Mopars, it's very crucial that they're all the same. Or Chevys, you can get away with like this one being 20 thousandths off, and it's either up or down more than this one because you got an adjustable valve train. And you can do it with your push rod length to change your geometry. But these, like I said, you got to do the height. And it's a shaft system, so you can't cut this one down and not the rest. You do measure them. A quick way to check them is with a straight edge and set it across and see if you got wobble, and I do. And that's telling me that this one's tall. But to do it correctly, I have to check them all at the same time. Like right now, with this caliper. It's showing this one's pretty low. And what I gotta do is I gotta get straight edge across this and check them with a feeler gauge. And that will tell me which one's high. Not necessarily that other one might not be low. It might be that this is too high. When they did the valve job, they sunk the valve into the head more than they should have. Fucking thousands. Here's an 8. It's about 2 thousandths off, which isn't a big deal, especially just for the fact it's being driven on the street. But I want to show you that there's more to these than just buying fucking parts. The next thing I'm going to do, well, the first thing I'm going to do is pop all the valve springs off. You got to keep them, well, you don't have to, but I keep them numbered so I know which one they come off of. Check the installed height, check the spring pressure. Make sure they're shimmed right if they have to be shimmed to get this pressure for the closed seat pressure. Then I'll move on to CCing. Yeah, these are just cast. They're not CNC combustion chamber, nothing. But I have to CC every fucking head, every chamber, make sure they're the same. If not, they have to be corrected. And that's done by machine work and fucking hand porting. So, I did the spring compressor. Fuck is it? There's a couple types. There's this type, you can do it by hand. It's just a big C-clamp. If you're just doing hydraulic springs, that's not a problem. Solid mechanicals, you can do a lot of them with it. But if you're going to do roller springs, you need a pneumatic one. This works by air. Just hit a button, it pushes, hit the other one, it contracts. So, yeah, I can set this up. You can see how it's got the copper spring out. Fucking hard getting the camera on you guys, I tell ya. Okay, there you have it. Okay, back to where I was. We just pulled the spring off. First thing I see is the valve stem seal isn't even stuck down on the guide. So what's going to happen when you start this motor up, the valve opens and closes. You're going to have a fucking valve that's unseated. Well, unsealed. And it's going to suck in oil. It can cause detonation. fouled plugs, smoke out the tailpipes, you know, same old typical shit. Another thing I see is these heads don't even have a fucking spring pocket in it. Aluminum heads need a hardened steel cup for the spring to set into, and that's so the fucking spring doesn't wear into the aluminum. Now typically when you have those and you have to shim, your shims, which are soft, go underneath that spring cup. And this is why you don't just buy parts, take them out of the box and put a motor together. There's more to it. If you want it correct, you have to know what the fuck you're looking for. Nobody that does, have them do it. If this motor was just thrown in and put together and gone, it'd have been smoking. And probably within 1,000 miles, the spring would have been through this washer. It's sending metal all through your motor. You don't want that. I try to tell people not to buy Edelbrock products. Nothing against them. They're not as good as they used to be. Shop around. These heads are probably, I don't know, $1,200, $1,500 to buy. I know there's heads out there that are competitive to that price, and they're probably better, like through 440 Source. You know, name it. The money you would save, I know there's a lot of people like, fuck the Taiwan shit. There's nothing wrong with them. They're roughly the same price as this. You don't have to spend money on them. They had the fucking spring cups, you know. They're done correctly. The heights are the correct. Edelbrock just isn't what it used to be. So I'm gonna get on eBay and order the spring cups. Then I'm gonna pull the rest of these off and start checking spring pressure and install heights. So I'll be back. Okay, a really quick note before I do these. It's a good idea and a good practice to keep your parts in order, so they go in the same fucking hole they come out of. I know a lot of people get kind of technical about it. You know, trays and certain orders, and you know, intake 1 and intake 2. You know, this is how I do it. I mark the end of a cylinder head, usually with just a marker. That one there, I think I put a dot in it with a center punch. Now, I just write X1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the last one, it's obviously the last fucking valve, so I don't need to put an 8 on it. I just put an X on it so I know it came out of this cylinder head. I just fucking pull them apart. Now when it comes time to put this back together, there's the X. Here's my X1. That means that's the first valve. Then put them right back in order. Real simple. Hey. Before I run in and order those fucking spring pockets, I grabbed the paperwork just so I could see if they had a spring pressure and whatnot on it. You know, and they do. Because if they didn't, I'd have to fucking measure these or look up on the Edelbrock site, see what they're supposed to be. But anyway, where the fuck is it? Right here. Complete cylinder heads are assembled and prepared for installation right out of the box. As you just saw, they're not. Okay, I'm getting ready to CC the heads. I've showed you this before. I'll do it again. I've already got the plate in place. I'm plugging it. We got online and looked at the specs for these heads. The paper that come with them, completely different than what they say on the website, as far as like spring height, spring pressure, whatnot. So the way to really know is to sit down and do it yourself. But I need to know the compression of this motor. The way it's set up right now, it's probably 10 to 1. It's only got a small cam. It's a 268, I think. So the 11 to 1 would be pretty high fucking cylinder pressure. But anyway, these heads are supposed to be 65 cc. So we're gonna find out. Right now I'm trying to get a trapped air bubble out. There it is. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. But we're right here at 75. No. 68, 69 cc. So that just goes to show you how fucked up Edelbrock is. These are supposed to be 65. And they're almost 70 cc. So now I gotta sit down and do the math of the compression. I do have the formula wrote down, but it's easier just to Google it. If you just go to google.com and type in compression ratio calculator, all you gotta do is put in all your figures, and they'll do it for you.
I'm hoping. $2.94.